Hello, and welcome into a long overdue episode of I Don't Know, an agnostic's adventure in subjective reality. My name is Michael Tyler. I'm your host, and for the first time on I Don't Know, well, first I got to get this countdown graphic off, and I got to turn the music off. For the first time, I'm bringing on a guest. This is my old friend from a long time ago, Mr. Maurice Henry.
Oh, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Oh, man, it's great. It is great. Great day to be alive, as always.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, man.
This is my first time interviewing someone, so this is exciting. I'm trying to get the banners to the correct thing.
I think we got it, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So I've never interviewed anybody before, but from what I have researched, and by researched I just mean like I thought about it for a few minutes and I thought this might be fun. I want to start off with a softball question to get you like really nice and warmed up. So easy question, easy answer. What is the meaning of life?
Oh, man. The meaning of life. That's a real easy softball question that people normally warm up to. I would say
one or two answers, right?
Honestly, I think people actually think too hard about meaning of life. Is just what makes you feel good, what makes you happy, right? Like we're always trying to place ourselves in the mechanics of the world and all this, whatever. It's like, well, what makes you smile every day? What makes you happy?
I love that. I was wondering if you would, because you're a pretty funny guy. I was wondering if you're going to come up with like a sarcastic or like something really sharp answer. But I think that is, I think that's a beautiful answer. And it's like a really challenging thing in this insane world to remember. It's just like, hey, the purpose of life is, to enjoy it. What the fuck else are we doing here?
Well, I feel like the world has enough time to crush us under its thumb. So, why not try to make it easy before it, pretty much gives you the bend over. So, I try to help that out.
I like it, man. I like it. Try to enjoy life a little bit, which is why here we are on a Sunday afternoon chatting with friends. So, Maurice, you and I briefly went to high school together at a little tiny Adventist school in Denver, Colorado called Mile High Academy.
Yes.
You were pretty well. I don't remember as well because you were only there briefly. I don't think Mile High could really handle you.
No, they couldn't. Like first day, I think I went in and made one of the teacher's daughters my girlfriend, which was a no-no. I remember that right off the rip.
Which teacher was this?
It was. Are we allowed to say names on here? Are we allowed to just out people?
There's nobody listening, so.
Okay, well, like you remember Veronica, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right off the rip. I was like, oh, that chick's hot. And then I was like, hey, you wanna date? And she's, okay, I guess so. And they immediately, like, everyone was like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I can't do that. They're like, yeah, no. I was like, I don't know.
Seems like a normal high school kid thing to do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was great. And then I pretty much puppy dogged her, chased her around every class, and we get you kicked out.
Good times. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know you've got background in the service, in the military service. You live in Dayton, Ohio, right now. What's your spiel?
Okay, let me give you the spiel. So we'll start when I actually became an adult. Like at 20, I decided to join the military. Part of the reason was because, pull-out game is pretty weak. So I had a kid. And so I realized that, I should probably do something about that. So joined the military, became a fuel cell tech. You can actually look it up on Dirty Jobs. It's terrible. Okay. It's a terrible job.
What does a fuel cell tech do?
So you basically crawl in gas tanks and fix the gas tank with the gas in it most of the times.
Oh, God. Totally
safe. It's just high grade benzene getting into your lungs, and it's not service connected. So pay for it out of my own pocket, but it should get connected when it's the VA thing. I'll tell you about that later. But
So it led to like health issues after the fact
oh
that
yeah,
you're not. Oh,
oh
geez.
yeah, oh yeah. You a lot of the a lot of guys that have kids after you see it, or most of the fuel cell guys have sleep apnea.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, definitely.
Do you have sleep apnea? Do you have like a big snoring device?
No, I don't. I think I just go ahead and risk the daily, close to death experience. And why not? Why not?
Well, I mean, you've told me in the past that like we said, you served in the military and you've
Yeah.
seen a little bit of action. So I guess
Yeah.
near-death experiences is something that you just learned to live with. Yeah.
Yeah. So that all started. I cross trained over, became a sensor operator on gunships, which is the AC-130U. And so they provide close air support for special operations groups, and that's actually across the gambit of Navy SEALs to SAS, British SAS, MARSOC, which is the Marines. They have their own group, Air Force guys, so everybody. And we work with all the groups, even the three-letter agencies that maybe shouldn't be working. I don't know if yeah. So that's when you kind of learn what's really going on,
Yeah. So you're talking to someone who has no service experience. Really, I'm an actor who moved to New York City. So we departed ways in high school and
right.
lived very different lives. So, and probably most of the people that are gonna tune in or listen to this are like New York City actor, artist type people. So I might be asking you some questions like that, like if you're saying some stuff like SAS and like, I don't know what that
Yeah.
like. So when you say like a gunship, do you mean like a helicopter type
Yes.
thing?
So this is a big flying castle of doom. They make it out of a C-130 cargo aircraft, and it has three guns. Yeah, big ass airplane sitting out. They have three guns sitting out of the side. So you have a 20 millimeter Gatling gun. You have a 40 millimeter, they call it Bofors cannon. They put those on ships to shoot down airplanes. And then there's a 105 howitzer, which is an artillery piece.
Okay.
And they bolt these things in. And then when you're operating, they'll give you, as a sensor operator, you see everything. You have a sensor that looks around. There's two of us in the airplane. And there's a fire control officer. Whenever we decide we need to shoot, he'll give me a gun and tell me, hey, you have the 25, or you have the 40, or you have the 105.
Gotcha.
And you use that to help people meet their maker. So
so that's an experience that an actor in New York City doesn't have. You have ended someone's life.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
do you remember the first time that happened?
Yeah. So the first time couldn't have been like the way the mission started. It was a bad day from jump. Like as we took off, we were stationed in Kandahar. We took off and somebody had,
This is in Afghanistan.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, Kandahar, Afghanistan. And we took off. There was a laser that hit us, and lasers are just super bright when they hit an airplane, and it can blind you. So our one of our gunners was looking out the window, and he yelled out, we thought he got shot, and he can't see, and I'm thinking, man, this thing's starting off sideways already, right?
Yeah, geez.
We get on the op, and the guys, we end up, they're shooting as we're getting there. They're shooting at, I think we were working with Rangers at the time, and they're shooting at these guys. And so immediately we roll in, and I'm nervous, right? Like,
was this your first mission?
This wasn't the first mission, but this was one of the first ones where they're like, immediately here, you're cleared hot. Okay. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, you're like, all right, let's be real. And they see us initially. And what was crazy is a storm's rolling in, so it's making it even harder to shoot. That's moving the plane. So now I'm trying to make sure I'm shooting the right people.
So are there like non-combatants in the area?
Yeah. So there's like a village not too far. There's like a couple houses. there's a sheep pen, and there's, our guys aren't too far. And so I get the Gatling gun and, I just kind of roll in, start shooting, and they run to some trees. And you can make a good assumption when trees fall apart and you no longer see people. You're like, oh, I think they're no longer with us.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that was the first time. But what made it so bad, and this sounds callous, but I really didn't care about that. I cared the fact that the bullets rolled into the sheep pen and I killed some sheep. That's what at the time I remember being more concerned that I killed sheep than that I just, waxed these two dudes.
Right.
And I was like, forget them, who cares?
The sheep.
I was like, those guys, they're innocent.
Yeah, the sheep weren't shooting you.
No, wow. They were just being sheep. So
that's
great. Yeah.
So how did that? So you say your first reaction was like, oh, the sheep. Did you like afterward that night, or like did it stick with you? How do you like sit with the fact that you've taken someone's life?
So I'm a little different, right? Like they weren't good people.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't have anybody's best interest, right? They're out there shooting, abusing, and if it wasn't us, they'd be doing it to villagers. They'd be taking and pillaging. So I don't lose sleep.
Or Al Qaeda?
Yeah, these were Taliban. These were Taliban guys. And so I don't lose sleep over it. I never did like that. I think at the time I was even like, let's go again. Right. Like immediately I was like, let's go again. But the one I can tell you a mission that did mess me up was we were chasing a guy. He had ran from a building, and I'm chasing him, and he's running in between these compounds, and he's trying to see if a compound is open. And we finally get tired of him running, and they're like, hey, shoot the 40 at him, see if he'll run into it, like finally stop moving. So I'm not trying to kill the guy. But I'm trying to get him to stop because this guy was a high value target. He had a lot of intel.
Okay.
And
so you're trying to keep him alive.
I'm trying to corral him, right? I'm trying to do my best. So I shoot at him, and this dude basically becomes an Olympian and jumps a high wall into a compound.
Oh shit.
Well, in Afghanistan, it's hot. Nobody really has air conditioning out in the, way out there. So everybody sleeps in the courtyard.
Yeah.
And so a whole family is sleeping in this courtyard. He goes in and he grabs somebody, takes them hostage, and the Rangers surround this thing. And I'm like, okay, this is normal. We'll get it figured out. Well, the big issue was this guy, isn't wanting to come out. Yeah. And so they're clearing the compound. They're getting everybody out. Everybody's out except for there's a child and a grandfather. And this kid, I'm watching him. You can see him pretty clear on the sensor. He just starts throwing up and starts shaking. I'm watching him shake.
Oh God.
And he's having a seizure.
Oh.
And I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, all right, let's hopefully, this ends well. And his grandfather's holding him, but they can't let him leave the compound just yet till they search him.
Right. And
so the kid, I can see him. He'd kind of come to, he'd start having seizures again. And then we and that mission in particular shook me.
Yeah.
Because it was a child.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to him, and I think that's what did me. And I went home and or my little Connex box and, kind of did the crying man for a little bit, trying to figure out what happened. And that's the one that messed me up. That'll stick with me forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, man. That's great. And how old were you at the time? You said you joined around the age of 20. So you must have been.
Yeah, I think I want to say I was like 20, I think I was 24, 25, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was,
where I was selling insurance I was selling life insurance in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Jeez.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's intense. Okay, so you said you were a sensor operator, so you saw a lot of stuff. What's the craziest? You must have seen some crazy, funny shit too, right? Not just horrible things.
Oh yeah, no. So we would do a lot of missions where we let people fly with us, right? And
What kind of-
yeah, just an op. They say, "Oh, hey, that's what you do," and they get to see what we're doing. So this particular one, we had our nurse with us, and she was like, always wanted to see, and it was like, cool, cool. And she's real, kind of sensitive, but not, she understands what we do.
Mhm.
And we're working. I remember this particular mission, we're working with the SEALs, and they like to have a thing called a Viper feed, so they can see what we're looking at. And the mission went real smooth. Nothing really happened. They form up. They're waiting on the helicopter. But I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna what they call route wreck. I'm gonna wreck you out. Look, make sure nobody's sneaking up on you. And it's about 3 in the morning, right? Nope, everybody should be asleep.
Yeah.
But I see this dude like tactical crawling, maybe about a click and a half or a kilometer and a half away, and I'm like, what's he doing? He's starting to tactical crawl. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And he's crawling up to, there's like a pin with a donkey, and I'm thinking, all right, what's happening here? And he jumps up, and the donkey just kicks the bejesus out this dude, right? And we're like, holy fuck, like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
what's going on? I'm thinking maybe he was stealing the donkey. I'm still young here.
Yeah.
And but he gives up on the donkey, and he tactical crawls over to a sheep pen.
No.
Yes, grabs the sheep, and starts making it its girlfriend. And mind you, our very sensitive nurse is watching this, and she goes, what's he doing to that sheep? And I'm like, oh, exactly what it looks like. And so as we're so I call up to hey pilot IR, can you check out my feed? And he looks, he goes, what's the guy doing to the sheep? And I said, yeah, exactly what it looks like. And then then we call the SEAL. So by now everyone's watching, and then we realize the Pentagon is watching.
The Pentagon is watching this guy.
The Pentagon is watching, man.
Oh my god!
And so now I'm like, do you guys want me to keep? They're like, yeah, just keep filming it, keep filming it. And there's like a Merc. They call it Merc. There's a little chat that goes off, and everybody's like, what the? Like, oh my god! And
somebody send this up to the Oval.
So it gets worse, because then they're like, hey, do a flyover to make sure that's what he's doing. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So we do a flyover, and this bold motherfucker is just giving the sheep the business and looks up at us while doing it. And I'm just like, I got to get out of here.
You're like, this guy's trying to make eye contact with me.
I mean, he stared at us the whole time we flew over, went, washed himself up in the creek, and that was it. I was like, yeah, no, we can't. I don't know if we can win this. Listen, these guys fuck sheeps out here, man. Like,
you may have in high school, like really pestered this girl to try to get to date you, but you never.
No, not like this.
Not like that. Not like that.
Ain't nothing like sheep love, man.
So yeah, it seems like one of the number one takeaways that you learned from Afghanistan is that sheep have a tough life out there.
They live an awful life, man. Oof. Ooh.
Man. So do you have feelings about, like, a couple years ago we pulled out of Afghanistan, and
yeah,
it was a topic of debate for a long time, and it kind of seemed from at least the media lens that I consumed it through, it seemed like it was kind of a shit show. What are your thoughts on how that went? Should it have gone? Should it have happened earlier? Was there just never a good solution?
So I think we messed up when we allowed Karzai in, right? Okay. Like you had a chance to, like, we kicked the Taliban out of the country. We had a chance to actually start over, but we ended up putting in the very people that let the Taliban come back, with their weak leadership and stealing. And, you got to realize, like, these guys, a lot of them are warlords and businessmen. And like, where do we, like, most of the poppies come from Afghanistan. Poppies make what? Heroin, morphine, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making it.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a business making it.
Yeah.
So there's people that had a vested interest in putting the right people in. Again, business kind of messed up a way of life and to actually make things better for people. That's just my opinion.
Was there a better option that we could have tried to get in office, do you think, or was it always going to be, a flawed leadership plan?
I think so. The problem with Afghanistan, right? The way that they think, it's family first, right? And that's no problem. But then it's village first. Then it's your city, your state. Then it's your country. So last on the list of unification and doing things right is for the country. They're fighting each other. They've been fighting each other forever.
Yeah.
Right. So getting them to come up with a unified plan, it would be hard. But even within that, I think you got to let them try.
Yeah.
Let them vote. Let them pick their own leadership. Right. Yeah. But we didn't do that.
Right.
We didn't do that. And so getting to the end, right, there's a little more, I think, some nuance. A lot of people are like, oh, we just gave away material and we gave away all this garbage. It's like, we weren't bringing it back anyway. Cost too much.
Right. Yeah.
It's easier to give it to Afghanistan or whoever wins and sell it to them. Right. Now you made a bunch of money. You don't bring it back and it's used. Right. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
But, and we announced the pullout for how long?
Right.
Almost like 2 years.
Yeah.
So we like to blame Biden for it, but it was announced years before he was in.
Yeah.
So I think there's, a lot of, politics in that a lot of people don't understand. And, it gets a bad rap, but there's no good way to leave. Right.
There's
like you look at all wars, there's no good way to leave.
There's no good way to leave. And we could definitely transition into various topics that are happening in current events. But one I want to ask about, because I think I texted you the day that I saw it happen. The president of Iran, the number 2 guy, he was in a helicopter and it was a little foggy.
Yeah.
The helicopter didn't come out of the fog. What? How could that have happened?
So honest opinion. I think it was God rest his soul, but I think it was a Kobe situation.
Okay.
I think the pilot just got lost. They call it spatial D. Oh yeah. They shouldn't have been flying.
Okay.
And the reason I think so is Iran immediately came out and said it was an accident. That's not their MO. Right. If it was somebody, they would have used that leverage to say, oh, see, the great Satan is attacking us again. Or, all that. That's Iran, and they would have used a proxy and said, oh, this group or that group. But they immediately came out, oh, it was an accident. And they wanted to move on because it was pretty embarrassing. They couldn't even get a drone up to find their own president.
Yeah.
And they had to ask Turkey, who Turkey trolled them, made a crescent and a star before going and getting them. You can look up on FlightAware. Yeah, it's crazy.
Did they really?
They drew out a crescent and a star and then went to search for him.
Oh wow.
So that's high level trolling.
That is very high level trolling, man. Is that like the president? Is that like what's his name? Erdogan? Is his name Erdogan?
Yeah.
Is that orders from him? He's like,
who knows?
A little bit,
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, hey, do that real quick and then go look. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, yeah.
Like him and the Ayatollah didn't have a nice lunch last time they met. So he's like, I'm just gonna make this for a little bit.
Yeah, that's not real Sprite you gave me, asshole.
Yeah.
So but I will say
go ahead.
But I was gonna say, but I will say, because I do love conspiracy theories though.
Yeah.
Now it did happen right as many world leaders were getting their asses handed to them, right? Like Slovenia assassination attempt.
Right.
You have the Saudi king, who is now, mysteriously in the hospital with a mysterious illness.
Right.
You have a couple other world leaders that aren't doing so hot. So it's like, there's a little bit of a coincidence.
Well, I mean, this is like, we live like, everyone knows this is a crazy time in world history. Yeah. Even if we're just going by the democracy standards, like there's so many major elections happening in 2024. The US election, obviously one of them, but India has an election coming up. Taiwan had an election recently. Now, I guess Iran is going to have an election for the president. Russia had an election. So it's like there is a lot of room for leadership change right now, and obviously we have two major world conflicts with a couple other things bubbling around. And it feels to me like we're playing the great game. We're playing international chess. So my first thought when I saw the helicopter go down is like, all right, well, a few years ago we assassinated a general in the Iranian called the Revolutionary Guard. Israel assassinated a couple of generals on Syrian soil during this conflict that we've got going on. I'm like, is the West pursuing regime change here? And my theory on why this would be is because basically I think we're in like a Cold War, a second Cold War. It's the West versus China, Russia, Iran. That's the kind of the axis right now. And we're probably going to lose, and the West is probably going to lose in Ukraine. This is like, I don't want to like totally give up hope, but it's like not looking great. So I kind of think it's like we need a resounding victory in the Middle East. And so we're letting Israel do kind of whatever the fuck it wants in Gaza, putting up some PR like, hey, let's, not go too crazy, which hopefully hopefully as many civilians as can stay alive are staying alive. But obviously Iran is backing, these terrorist group. I believe Hamas is a terrorist group. I mean, they're more than that.
They are. No, I'd agree.
But I think the West wants a resounding victory in the Middle East because they know they're not going to get that. They're going to kind of take a little bit of an L in Eastern Europe. So that was my theory.
Well, so like here's the thing when it comes to Iran, this is what I tell people, and this isn't anything new, but Iran will fight to the very last Arab. And they, as Persians, do not have the Arabs' best interest. And that's why they are so glad to destabilize the region, so glad to, it's almost like a get back. And to push their power, push the agenda, and that's what they do. I'm not saying we don't either, but the game is being played, right? We have destabilized their nuclear arms and their nuclear plants, and they have done things as well. And it's the same with Russia, right? We know they meddled in the election. We know that we are trying to send them into the worst recession they've ever experienced. We play these games, but I think sometimes groups go all in a little more and some don't. And the problem is we have so many people that we need to appease here in the US. We never go all in.
It's
right. We're trying to appease everybody. And the problem with war is the longer, whether it's a Cold War or a hot war, the longer you draw that thing out, the more people are affected. So it's just, it's just the reality to it.
There's I'm sure there's a military theory when you get in a conflict. This was part of the theory when we were bombing the shit out of Germany in World War II. Is like, let's end it as quickly and like let's be as horrible and violent so you can end as quickly as possible because in the end that will end up with less death. Is that kind of like it doesn't seem like anybody really and I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it doesn't really seem like anybody really has the stomach for that, except for maybe Israel these days.
No. The problem is too, we're pretty wishy-washy. If you notice, we backed them immediately in Ukraine, then we backed off, and then we backed them again, and that's unfortunate casualty of politics, but
casualty of having a democracy,
but also, side note is war isn't as shocking anymore. Like the average kid, mom, whoever can go on YouTube and watch a helmet cam of a guy storming a building and killing people. Right. Like back in the day, that was shocking. Right. Couple that with body bags. People are like, I don't like this. I don't have the stomach for this anymore.
Yeah.
Now it really only affects people when it's their person, their dad, their mom, their brother, their sister. That's when people go, whoa, I care about this now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not the only thing, but I think because of the availability of information and media and the way, and even with media, there's talking points that they focus on certain wars.
Yeah.
Right. When's the last time you heard of the Tigray War? Right. Like, no, it's you have Eritrea and Ethiopia going to war, killing just as many people as Ukraine, but we never heard of it.
Yeah, that's true.
We never got back the Nigerian girls from Boko Haram, but nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Right. But ISIS kills 5 people in France, and then we're like, all right, let's get them.
Yeah.
We pick and choose. We have our talking points, and I think until we treat war the same, no matter where it is, who's involved, I think we're going to keep going down the path of, okay, it'll be drawn out. Same in Gaza. I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to really, nobody really blames Egypt, right? Right. Egypt could have opened up the border and let everybody come out. It's nothing but desert back there.
Yeah.
But we're like, oh, Israel, you're terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, Israel, hey guys, you have technology, just don't bomb an apartment building.
Yeah.
Right. Like nobody's right in war and everything, but I think people need to take the same approach to everything. Yeah. And I think we pick and choose what feels good, what we care about, and that applies to everything. That's just people.
It's everything. I mean, like we have an infinite amount of information at our fingertips now, more than ever before. But you still, just because you have an infinite amount of information doesn't mean you can actually consume all of it. Doesn't mean you can actually pay attention to all of it.
Right. Right.
So on that note, let's bring it back to the home front and things that we can't not pay attention to.
Okay.
And we'll probably wrap up after this, but I'm super curious. We haven't really talked too much about domestic politics, I think, at all, ever. So I really don't really know where you stand. You can probably take a guess where I stand just because of the length of my hair.
Okay.
So on, it was Thursday or Friday, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 counts of whatever he was, he's 34 felony counts. He's got plenty of different trials. This is the Stormy Daniels hush money case. Where he supposedly, and I think how they kind of connected it to election fraud is, I guess, the money that he paid her off with came out of funds that were connected to the election.
Not smart.
Yeah, not smart. What do you think about this particular case? How it will affect the election? What are your thoughts on it?
So I think finally, good job. He's just getting what he deserved, right? Like Teflon Don no more. I think the guy has been we're acting like we didn't know this about Donald Trump, right? The guy has a beauty pageant to find his next wife, and we're going, oh my God, he's a bad guy. No, come on, man, we knew this. Come on, he had a TV show just being an asshole. We know who this guy is, but I think where he's a genius is he's tapped into something where people feel like, oh, he's saying how I feel. Right. And unfortunately, that kind of gets into the immaturity of the US.
Yeah.
And it's starting to kill our influence in the world. But I think it's a great thing. Finally, it kind of takes a patina off of him a little bit. Hey, no, you got to pay for you got to pay for what you're doing.
Do you?
Because he's.
Do you think there'll be any consequences? Do you think he'll do time for this one, or do you think what do you think will come of it?
I think that he has enough people who like him and back him, including Russia. I think he's a Russian plant. That's just that's my opinion, right? I think it'll come out years later as the highest level of infiltration by Russia, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think anything will happen. You hear people all the time I don't care what happens, I'm voting for him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, if you were to put him in a different, you know, put him in a different suit, on a different side of the aisle, different skin color, different everything, would we be saying the same thing?
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Like we tried to impeach Clinton for having sex in the Oval, not even sex. What, you got head in the Oval Office?
Yeah.
I don't care. He balanced the budget. Thanks. Maybe we should let them all do it. That's just my opinion. Like, if that's what we need to do, let's put it on the books. Each one needs a fluffer to balance the budget. So I don't know.
I don't know
Whatever
if
you
I
got to
want
do,
my tax dollars going, but like, at this, I'm pretty sure Teflon Don made enough money that he can hire his own whatever he needs to.
Oh, I'm sure he has. He has like 3
guys.
Yeah, no, he has 3 at least.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think anything will happen. I think people are still going to vote on it and vote for him. And I mean, he could be in pinstripes. I think people would do it. So
yeah.
I'm preparing for his 3rd election. So hey,
you think he's going to win?
I hope not. But if he does, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll wait you out. He's what? He's like 78.
Right.
Eats McDonald's every day. I'll wait you out, dude.
Yeah,
fine.
There's a good chance he might not be surviving his term.
Right.
Well, here's my little hot take of what I think should happen. I think that Biden should pardon him for this one. Because this is like the most minor of the different ones. This one's not like, this isn't the like calling and trying to get elector schemes. Wouldn't it be so funny?
That would be hilarious.
Biden is just like, I'm going to pardon you for this one. It would piss Trump off so much. It would be so good, and it would take so much of. I mean, it would just take some of the wind out of the sails of everybody.
It would.
Biden is weaponizing the Justice Department, and I do think like I am a little like I can't stand Trump. I want him to pay for the crimes that he has done, but it does make me nervous because like this is exactly how the Roman Republic fell. In like, whoever was at the top, he tried to stay in office as long as he could, and when he got out, his political rival, prosecuted him, and they ended up. That's exactly how we ended up with Caesar. We were around 2 years ago.
True.
So like what I see from this is like, no matter what happens, I don't think it's going to serve time. And I think this is probably the only case decided before the election. But as soon as Biden is out of office, if he doesn't die in office, because he's ancient, the Republicans are going to throw something at him. And how legitimate is it going to be? I don't know. But like, we are coming into an era where we're just going to start prosecuting our political opponents. And that doesn't really ring well for democracy. So I pardon him on this one.
And it's funny though, but it's funny. I was thinking about like, when else have we come close like this? And I was thinking, Nixon, when the Watergate tapes and he had to release everything, he abided, knowing this was going to ruin him. Right. And it's almost like, well, what happens when we follow the rules?
Right.
We show that there is law. That's why nobody invests in China. That's why nobody invests in some of these lawless countries, because you don't know if the rules are going to change, if they apply, if they'll be enforced. There is nothing saying that this is a stable spot. Now, these 2 current guys are basically involving the rest of the world or at least America, in their little tiff.
Wow. And
we are paying for it.
Yeah.
Right. We are paying for it. But the reality is, if they both follow the rules, right? If everyone followed the rules and said, all right, cool, I did some wrong. All right. What do I owe you?
Yeah.
All right. I owe you 1 year in pinstripes. Okay, cool. Right. We'd be done. We wouldn't be talking about it. America would move on. But when the flip side of weaponizing, and I'm not sure it's weaponizing the justice system, but when you weaponize the division in America, you're eroding the foundation that we've built for how long we've been a republic.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is more dangerous than anything. And I think people need to really see through the talking heads on TV, the slander being thrown back and forth, and go, wait a second. What are we actually talking about here?
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's the main reason why, policies aside, the main reason I don't like Donald Trump is because he trades on division. He trades on getting people pissed off and making the other side seem terrible. And it's not that the other side isn't doing the same thing. So we're kind of in a tough spot right now, as far as like I think our democracy is as threatened as it's ever been because our media ecosystem is so incentivized by us trying to keep us in with being afraid or angry. Like it's the most manipulable emotion. So it's kind of a bummer of a scenario. But I don't want to leave on that note.
No.
I do want to kind of leave on, and that's kind of why I want to talk to people like you who, we got different perspectives. We've lived different life. And the title of this podcast is I Don't Know. And we can come together and we can say like, hey, I'm not really sure, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And hopefully we can have more conversations, with the people around us. And like the cliche phrase is agree to disagree, but just like, talk to each other respectfully and have an open mind. So I really appreciate you coming on and chatting me through this. I know you've got a lot more conspiracy theories and other experiences that would be really fun to talk about. So we'll definitely have to do it again. But before we go, you got anything else you got any questions you want to ask me? Anything else you want to leave us with?
Well, man, one, we have to do this again.
Absolutely.
I'll be, we can definitely talk about the aliens on Wright Pat Air Force Base, and we'll go there. They're real. So yeah. But
I thought you said they weren't real last time we talked.
Well, I saw.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if they're aliens, man. I don't know. I can't tell you one of the.
Fair enough.
I don't want to get us into, because this is a long one. This is a long one right here.
For sure.
But yeah, man. No, definitely. Hope we got to do it again. We definitely got to do it again.
Very good. Awesome. Well, when you get back home, say hi to your wife and
Will do.
And your kids. And I'll talk to you again soon, man.
All right.
All right.
Good talking to you, man.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Cheers.